Hi, and welcome to this recording of Restorative Yoga with me, Cara. I'd like to go over a few things with you before we get started with our class here. First, I'd like to introduce the props that I'll be using. You can see that I have a small bolster, a blanket, a pillow, 2 blocks. If you have these props to use, that's great. Even if you have more, that's awesome. If you don't have these props, that's okay. I would say use what you do have and even think about getting creative with things like couch pillows or throw blankets or whatever you happen to have. Second, this class is just like any other yoga class in the sense that you're invited to listen to your body and you're your best teacher in that way. If you need more or less to speed things up, slow things down, add in extra breaths or different variations, you are always welcome to do so. A little note on restorative yoga. Our number one principle in restorative yoga is that support creates release. Support comes in the form of your breath, the shapes that we get into, our props, and how present we're able to be in our practice. So remember that during your practice, that more support is better in this class. And that deeper releases can happen in muscles, fascia, ligaments, all those deeper layers, even body, mind, heart elements. Deeper releases can happen when we don't have to work so hard for it and when we have the adequate support that we need. And finally, my intention for this class is for all of us practicing to end feeling like our cup is full, body, mind, and heart. So let's go ahead and get started. Our class will start with a bit of breathing and meditation on the breath. You're welcome to do this either seated or lying down. And then we'll move into some warm-ups to loosen the body up before we get into our restorative portion where we'll be holding poses for about 5 minutes at a time. In those 5 minutes, you are not meant to feel like you're trapped there and cannot move, so please feel free to honor your body and its needs along the way. Go ahead and find yourself into either a comfortable seated or lying down position, using any props that you like to make yourself more comfortable where you are. Maybe something to sit on or underneath the neck or the shoulders or the lower back. Taking a moment to adjust what needs adjusting with the props, with the body. And then starting to bring your attention, your awareness to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out through the nose or the mouth, whichever feels right for you in the moment. Taking the first handful of breaths just to notice the breath and all its little details. Starting with just softening your body where you are. Soften the eyes, soften the jaw. Notice if there's anywhere else you can soften. And take those deeper breaths in and deeper breaths out, noticing the details of your breath. Noticing how your breath sounds as you breathe in, out. The quiet whisper of the inhale moving in and moving out. You can notice how your breath feels moving in and out of the body. The sensation of the breath as it travels in and out. You can notice all the little natural movements that your body makes as we take these deep breaths in and deep breaths out. feeling all the expansion and contraction that the body naturally makes as we breathe. And then starting to push the lungs just a little bit more towards a more full, complete inhale and exhale. Almost looking at the range of motion of your lungs for a moment. How deep of a breath can you invite in? How deep of a breath can you invite out? Coming back to a more relaxed inhale and exhale without so much force behind it. We'll start to bring more intention in as we breathe. With the next handful of breaths that you take, start to imagine giving yourself space. Breathing in and breathing out, giving ourselves space from the day. From everything that's already happened from the moment we opened our eyes this morning to this moment right here and now, inviting space. Breathing in and breathing out. You can imagine setting your to-do list down, projects to the side, all the tasks and obligations and anything that feels heavy on your shoulders. Imagine taking it off, setting it to the side for your time and your practice here and now. Breathing in, breathing out. We'll start to shift from inviting space to inviting grounding and settling in. The next handful of deeper breaths in and out. Start to imagine settling in a little bit more here and now. As we breathe in, breathe out, we can imagine connecting to the breath more, connecting to the body more, connecting to the mind and to the heart a little bit more. Breathing in and breathing out, we can imagine settling in all the way to this time that we've carved out of our schedules right now to restore. Always anchoring back to the breath in, breath out. And take a moment to check in. Check in with ourselves from this more grounded state. Checking in on ourselves as if we were checking in on somebody that we love dearly. A loved one, a dear friend. Checking in without passing judgment, without trying to change anything. Simply observing ourselves with compassion and kindness. You can breathe in and breathe out. Starting with the body, you can scan the body from head to toe. Scanning the body for areas that might jump out as tense or tight, as well as the areas of the body that already feel light and open. And just taking note, not trying to change anything. We'll take another full inhale and exhale, taking a moment to check in on the mind and what might be floating around up there, or how we might have been speaking to ourselves today. Is the mind moving slow or fast or something in between? Just take note. Breathing in and breathing out. Take a moment to check in on the heart, the emotional body, seeing what kind of feelings we're carrying around and what the heart feels. Breathing in, breathing out, sending the message to all these parts that you'll get some support in this practice. In the next few breaths, you can start to wake the body back up, moving a little bit through the hands, feet, arms, legs, perhaps rubbing the hands together and placing them over the eyes, rubbing around the face, the jaw, maybe placing your hands in the back of your neck or your shoulders for a moment, reaching long with a deep breath or a little bit side to side. Keeping your breath with you as the body starts to move more here. Turning to your favorite side if you like, soaking up a few more slow, deep breaths there. And slowly helping yourself rise up to a seat, using the arms and hands for support. Coming into a comfortable seated position to warm up the neck and the shoulders a little bit. You're welcome to sit on something like a bolster, maybe place something underneath your feet if they're on a hard surface. Maybe even grab some blocks if it feels like you're really having to hold your legs up, propping the knees up with the blocks. Finding the shape that works best for you right now. Evening out the hips as we're sitting tall, bringing attention back to your breath. Take a nice deep breath in, and with the exhale, slowly lowering one ear over to one shoulder. Taking a few breaths on this side. Adding in little movements like reaching the arms out or nodding the head gently forward or gently back. It shouldn't be a forceful movement. Rather, a coaxing the body into opening with the breath. We'll inhale to sit back tall. Exhale slowly to the other side, taking a few breaths on this side. Adding in any of those little movements that feel good in your body. Inhaling to let the head lift tall. Exhale, we'll reach over, moving with the breath. Inhale slowly to come up. Exhale slowly over to the side. Exhaling over. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling over. Inhaling to lift back up. Adding in arms, we'll let one hand touch down to our side. Inhale the other arm up and overhead. Feeling free to turn the head down if the neck is tight. And even bring your hand to a block if it doesn't quite make it to the floor. Breathing into shoulder, side body, inviting some space in. With the next inhale, we can come up. Exhaling slowly to the other side. Inhaling to turn the heart up towards the sky. Exhaling, we soften into it. Deep breaths into the shoulder, into the side body. The next inhale, moving side to side. So we'll inhale to come up, exhale to reach over, inhale to lift, exhale, reaching over. Moving side to side, time or two more at your own pace with your breath. Exhaling as we reach over, inhaling as we lift. We'll inhale both arms up high overhead, exhaling both elbows down and back like we're opening our wings wide across the chest. Inhale, reach back up. Exhale, elbows down and back. Inhale as you lift up. Exhaling as you open. Inhale to open all the way through the heart. Exhaling, we'll draw the arms together, tuck chin towards the chest, and round the body forward a little bit. Inhale, we'll open our wings back up. Exhaling to draw back in. We'll do one more. Inhaling to open. Exhaling to round. Rounding the spine back, breathing the back body. Feeling free to touch your hands out in front of you and walk them forward, getting a deeper stretch through the hips. We'll inhale, walking the hands back in, up to a seat. We'll keep the body warming up, moving into cat and cow, continuing to get the spine to move forward and back. If cat and cow is too much on your hands or your knees, you could do this seated as well. We're simply moving the spine forward through an inhale, rounding the spine back through the exhale. Letting our breath lead the way. Inhaling as the front body opens, cow pose. Exhaling as the back body opens, cat pose. A few more times with your own breath. Seeing how the body feels now that we're moving it a little bit more. Just taking note. Inhaling to move forward. Exhaling to move back. And starting to add on to cat and cow movements with rocking side to side. Maybe pulling back towards a child's pose. Or rocking forward towards more of a back bend. Circling. Barrel rolling, getting to a little bit of everything. Taking this time to check in with your body, how it feels, what it needs out of this movement. Sending the message to the body that we're listening to all the little signals that it's sending us. Feeling free to stop and pause anywhere along the way that might need an extra breath. Taking another breath or two here. And we'll start to open up the backs of the legs. So I'll offer a few options. You could stay in tabletop pose, sending one heel to the back of the mat, toes on the mat, reaching back through the heel. If it's too much on your hands, you can even move down to forearms. A few breaths on each side. Or if downward dog is a pose that feels good in your body, you can find your way there. From downward dog, you might move right on into a forward fold. or any combination of these three options. So inviting space to back body, length through the torso, keeping our breath with us along the way. And forward fold, breathing whole back line of the body, from the backs of the ankles, up the legs, all the way down the spine to the back of the neck. You're welcome to grab opposite elbows or sway a little bit side to side or bend the knees. The next inhale, we can slowly start rolling up to standing. When we're standing, we might roll the shoulders up and back a few times. And then we'll get set up for our first restorative pose. We'll start with a favorite in most of my restorative classes, legs up the wall, or Viparita Karani. So first I'll show you a couple of propping variations that are not at the wall. This one is called Stonehenge, given the shape. So 2 blocks on the tall height, bolster over top, and then the legs go over the bolster. You could place something underneath the lower back to help get the body more upside down and to support the lower back. This would be an option if you know coming to the wall doesn't work for you, or if you don't have a wall close by, still getting the same effects of the pose. I'll show you another variation of Stonehenge here, just setting the blocks and the bolster up slightly different. Blocks are together, bolster over top. This one works better if you have a bigger bolster. Legs go over top of the bolster. Everything else is the same. If you do have wall space and you know that that is a shape that feels good in your body, we'll find our way to the wall. In this pose, we like to prop up the lower back to bring the body into more of an upside down shape, meaning the head is slightly lower than the heart, which also stimulates the nervous system's relaxation response anytime we get the head slightly lower than the heart, which is one of the reasons this pose is so therapeutic, along with bringing more circulation through the legs, through the feet, and the lower body. This pose will be the more challenging pose that we'll practice here today. Just getting into it is awkward. So if you're using a bolster, the easiest way I found to get into this shape is to sit sideways on your bolster, touching the wall at your side, and then slowly swing the legs up as the arms lower down. If you have a blanket, you might roll it up under your neck or a pillow there. Or even if you have sandbags, they can be a great addition on top of your feet or across the lower belly or the hips. Once you get everything in the right place, which might take some effort, and do take the time to get everything as comfortable as you can, drop back into the rhythm of your breath. Softening the body where you can, turning your attention back to the breath, moving in and moving out. Giving yourself all the permission that you need to let go, all the doing, all the effort, all the trying, soaking up this time of freedom to just be. Just be with your breath in and out. To just be with your body restoring. Softening a little bit more and a little bit more each next breath. Coming back to the rise and release of the breath over and over again. Not trying to turn our thoughts off. Rather, practicing not attaching to them. Observing our thoughts as they come in, and then bringing attention back to the inhale, back to the exhale, back to the body restoring on the mat. You're welcome to stay exactly how you are a moment longer. Or maybe the legs need to move around at the wall here for a moment. So some different leg variations would be a wide leg stretch, or hugging the knees in, one heel out, one heel in, bound ankle pose with the soles of the feet together, knees apart. Any other shapes that feel good here. Taking your breath with you along the way. Taking about 5 more slow, deep breaths here. come out, hug the knees in, mindfully turning to the side. We can soak up a few more breaths there before helping ourselves up to a seat with an inhale. And we'll get set up for our next restorative pose, moving into what's called a front lying shavasana. We typically do at the end of class shavasana lying on our backs. This shape is lying on the front body. It offers a few more therapeutic benefits to the nervous system than when we're on the back. So first, you're wanting to prop up your feet, as well as placing a light folded blanket underneath the hips, the lower belly. You'll want something to support your head. It could be a combination of blankets or pillows. And then maybe something to lift the shoulders a little bit, the arms a little bit, like blocks or blankets. And if you're feeling some tension in the lower back, we can perhaps take some of that tension out by bringing more of a lift underneath the hips. So you might switch out a blanket underneath the lower belly for a bolster. Adjusting what needs adjusting, and then settling back into the breath. The first thing you might notice is this compression as we breathe. The body presses against our props in the ground as we inhale and exhale, which offers a lot of grounding purposes. This prop underneath the lower belly or the hips stimulates the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve connects the gut to the brain. It's a large part of our nervous system. When we stimulate the vagus nerve in these calming ways, it sends signals to the nervous system that it's time to move into rest, digest, and restore state of being versus fight, flight, or freeze state of being. So allow the body to just soften onto the ground, letting the shape work its magic. All we have to do is breathe in and breathe out. Releasing, softening, letting go. Taking about 5 more slow, deep breaths here. Sliding hands underneath the shoulders. We can inhale up to a tabletop and counter stretch through cat and cow, child's pose. Either option is a great counter stretch. We get set up for our next restorative shape. Moving into a hip opener, pigeon pose. And I'll show you a few different variations of pigeon depending on what your body needs. If you know that how you like your pigeon set up, you can go ahead and find your way there. Otherwise, to take it easier on the knees, if you might have a knee injury or just tight hips, or if pigeon is not your favorite stretch, I don't blame you. It's one of those stretches, and a love-hate. So this figure 4 reclined pigeon is a really great option to take pressure off the knees. Lying down, bending at the knees, feet on the mat, one ankle over the knee, and then hugging the knees in, or even turning to the wall so you don't have to hold your legs. The next option or variation would be a half pigeon. So we have the same figure 4 type shape with the front leg, but then rather than having our back leg extended all the way back behind us, we have that back knee sliding up to meet the front foot. You might bring some props out in front of you to rest there. Or more traditional pigeon, still using props. It's restorative yoga, support creates release. You might use a bolster to prop up the hips. If you don't have a bolster, use a blanket, a block, a pillow. You could start with that prop about halfway on your mat, and then step over like a low lunge. Find your front figure 4 pigeon leg, and then extending the back leg back behind you. It doesn't have to be your deepest stretch right away. You might take some time to settle into this shape on this side. Grab some props to make yourself more comfortable out in front of you, for the head, the hands, the arms. This is one we can really feel when we get into it. The hips can be really tight. Just breathe into any sensation that you're feeling in the hips, the lower back. We're moving into more of the emotional body when we work with hip openers. Just noticing what comes up. Not trying to change anything, breathing through it. We can even use our breath as a tool for release here. Inhaling to invite in space, expansion, healing energy. And exhaling to release out tension, let go of tightness. Just imagining we can release it out of the body as we exhale. Making room for that healing energy to find its way in as we inhale. Inhaling space, expansion, healing energy. Exhaling tension, exhaling tightness. We'll take just about 5 more slow, deep breaths on this side. Inhaling space, exhaling tension. Slowly come out of this pose and start to help ourselves up or unwind. Take a breath or two. And then we'll start to counter stretch in the way that feels best in your body. Could be legs out in front of you, legs back behind you. Taking your time to get there. There's no rush. Checking in with the body before we switch sides. Maybe we know that one side needs something different, or maybe we just need to take a moment to tune in to our hips, to our legs, noticing if one side's a little bit tighter. Maybe this next side needs a different variation, more props, less props. Give your body what it needs. So the options are reclined pigeon, half pigeon, or a more traditional pigeon with props supporting the hips and the body, arms out in front of you. Slowly settling in on this side. Doesn't have to be the deepest stretch right away. Breathing in to the tension or tightness you feel in your body, in the hips or the lower back here. Moving back into using the breath as a tool for release in the body. Inhaling, we can imagine inviting in space, expansion, even healing energy can find its way in. As we exhale, imagine letting go of tension, tightness, just releasing it from the body with the breath. Creating room for that next healing, spacious breath to find its way in. Inhaling space, exhaling tension. Taking about 5 more slow, deep breaths on this side. Inhaling space, exhaling tension. Taking your time to slowly find your way up, unwind. Again, counter stretch in the way that feels best for you. Maybe it's legs out back behind you and tabletop, or legs shaking out in front of you. Whatever feels best to bring circulation back in to both sides. Taking another breath or two. And then setting up for one more restorative pose. A crowd favorite, chest opener. So pigeon pose is great at opening the hips, but kind of gets the body to round forward. So we'll open back up through the shoulders, through the heart. A typical crowd favorite chest opener is this bound angle pose, reclined bound angle pose. You can see I have one block on the tall height, one block on the medium height, bolster over top, body on the bolster. Legs move into a bound angle pose shape with props underneath the knees. Even if you think you don't need them, give your body that support. And maybe you have sandbags or a pillow or a blanket to place on top. Vagus nerve stimulation at the lower belly or across the hips. Sending those calming signals to the nervous system. Other options for a chest opener, I'll show you a couple more. Could be to turn your bolster parallel to your mat. Let the body lie down that way. So the same pose, but without the blocks. Or we can target the spine a little bit more with a gentle spine release, sitting on the edge of that bolster, which means the head will now come off of the bolster, so we'll support it with a prop so the neck doesn't get too extended. Bringing some support for underneath the knees to help neutralize lower back. This is great for just a gentle spine release. Or I'll show you my typical favorite for really targeting the shoulders and the chest, the collarbones to open up. So we turn the bolster perpendicular to the mat. And we want it high up on the upper back, but not too high that the shoulders can't spill over the back of it. So we don't want it at mid back, but more upper back with shoulders hanging over the edge. Support your head with a folded up blanket or pillow and support the knees to help neutralize the spine. Any of these options are helping to open up the chest and the shoulders. This is another one you might really feel in the shoulders or the arms, the chest once we get here. Breathing into those spaces. Inviting some space across the chest. Breathing in, breathing out. Inviting the shoulders to soften down towards the floor. This can be a challenge for the body to open up in this way. Instinctively, these are areas of the body we hold and protect. So it might be worth reminding the body that it's in a safe space to do this work. Breathing in and breathing out, tuning in to the rise and release of the breath. Tapping into our heart chakra, resources of compassion, kindness, self-love, self-care, along with those qualities for others. Soaking all of this up, simply breathing in and breathing out. Noticing where our thoughts are, inviting our thoughts back to the here and the now, inviting space into the front body, into the chest, into the shoulders, with deep breaths. Taking about 5 more slow, deep breaths to the front body. Starting to bring little movements back into the fingers, toes, arms, legs. Hugging knees in or rocking side to side. Turning to your favorite side, soaking up a few more breaths there. We'll close our class with Shavasana, simply lying down on the mat. You might stay as you were a moment ago, or set yourself up into any other favorite Shavasana restorative shape. Perhaps something underneath the knees, something underneath the upper back or the neck. Maybe it's covering yourself up with a blanket to get cozy. And depending on the timing of your day whilst watching this, you might go ahead and pause this recording now and drift on into as long of a shavasana as you like. Or we'll rest here, soaking up some more deep breaths for another moment. Letting go all the way. Giving yourself permission to just be. Starting to deepen your breath back in more. Inviting in a more full, complete breath in and out, filling the whole body with breath. Bringing slow, small movements to the body, to the fingers, toes, arms, legs. Reaching along with a deep breath overhead or a little bit side to side. Keeping the breath calm and smooth as we transition. Turning to your favorite side, soaking up a few more slow, deep breaths there. Slowly finding your way up to a seat, checking back in with your breath once you find your seat, checking back in with yourself, how you're feeling. Perhaps taking an intention with you into all of your next doings, something to bring you back to this state once you're out in the world. You can take a little bow to yourself and the teacher within. Please let me know if you have any questions about anything we did here. Shoot me an email. Thank you for practicing with me.